Good evening, professionals. Today we are going to see one of the latest topics in our Friday Corporate Law webinar series, where we have been touching upon the global corporate laws. This is proposed amendment to Singapore Companies Act. In line with the technology improved usage, ACRA has advocated digitization of documents, digitization of meetings, dematerialization, conversion of physical share certificates to dematerialized mode, and also reclassification of companies more for financial statements presentation and power of registrar and minister with regard to the specified class of companies on applicability of financial statements under section 201, which is being retained, and some of the outdated provisions they are proposing to remove it from the Singapore Companies Act, and several other key changes are being introduced subject to the proposed framework by the committee, which is framed is going to be with public consultation. So it is in public consultation mode until 20th August, inviting and soliciting the comments of public. My sincere thanks to Aishwarya for this research on the new topic and making a presentation on the subject. These are various legends used in today's presentation, where the working group is none other than your Companies Act working group. And it comprises of various members with the then ACRA chairman and also various industry professionals to make their representations. So we will have a quick overview of the working group with the comprising members and the report and recommendation of the working group, various amendments proposed, and also touching upon the current amendments, the current provisions as applicable with the rationale for these proposed amendments, and the public consultation, the portal which is available for access to the public for comments. ACRA had set up this working group to review several areas of Companies Act. More to ensure Singapore corporate laws and regulatory frameworks stay competitive, and in order to streamline the filing process and regulatory requirements. This is chaired by the then ACRA board member because it was framed in Jan 2018. So then member chaired this particular working group comprising members from various law firms, regulators and associations. The report and recommendation has 56 issues submitted with recommendation on 36 legislative reforms covering various areas, which inter alia includes your digitization, various types of companies and their review of financial reporting, accounting standards for foreign companies and other companies, their applicability and relaxation norms proposed, and matters relating to the directors and company secretaries, the register of directors, company secretaries, and where it has the inspection right for registrar. Those provisions we are going to touch upon today, and safeguarding shareholders' interests, share capital and financial assistance, updating the outdated provisions. The redundant provisions are being weeded out from the Act. So, taking into consideration various recommendations in the proposed amendment in the light of the technological advancement and striking an effective balance between the effective and efficient regulatory framework and to ease the compliance burden on the companies to improve the corporate governance. These are the suggested amendments. Dematerialization of shares and digitalization. So conversion of physical share certificates into demat mode, facilitating the digital meeting and clarifying the application of existing digitalization provision to various documents under the Companies Act. So this will remove the requirement of physical share certificate under Singapore Companies Act. So they are also proposing to review the company types, primarily to broaden the group of stakeholders, not only to include your shareholders but also to include your creditors based on the public interest and accountability of companies, because more the stakeholders, more the accountability for the company, and hence they are trying to introduce a concept called public accountable company. making it customized for the financial reporting obligation in an enhanced framework process, and to enhance the scope of audience to whom this particular framework will be targeted for. And like how they are trying to bring in additional obligation, they are also trying to simplify the obligation for some companies to reduce and relax their burden with regard to the financial statements which are being reported, and hence they are trying to introduce a criteria called micro company, which is defined with a threshold prescribed as total annual revenue and assets not exceeding 5 lakh Singapore dollar. So this is the existing company type review and relaxation or additional stringent norms being imposed based on the classification of the company. Then they are planning to retain the current requirements with regard to the financial statements which are being filed by all these companies, with exception being dormant company. We have discussed in our previous webinar in 201A about these relevant dormant companies where they do not have any accounting transactions and where there is no representation made by a relevant person, then such companies can call themselves as dormant company if they have been dormant from the year of formation or since the end of the preceding financial year, in which case they can, along with the annual return filed with the registrar, make a reporting to the registrar that they would like to claim exemption from filing financial statements, provided the relevant person of the company has not made a submission that the company shall file financial statement. We also discussed in the financial statements part 1 webinar which held during the month of July 2020 that the relevant person will be the person with the shareholding capital of 5% or where there is no share capital 5% of the shareholding in the case of membership. So these members, if they are not stipulating that the company shall file the financial statement, then this dormant relevant company can claim exemption by submitting this particular representation to the registrar, and more importantly they should not have any accounting transaction during the financial year, and of course they should have complied with maintenance of accounting systems and controls as per the provisions of section 199. And also this exception of filing financial statement is applicable to prescribed companies which meet the criteria as specified in Companies Act. We also discussed about the relevant prescribed class of companies while discussing about the financial statements. So the existing solvent exempt private company shall be prescribed in the regulation. So the working group has suggested that this particular extant requirement be retained in the proposed amendments. And all 5 financial statements should be made available to public except for the file documents relating to gazetted exempt private companies which are wholly owned by government under 12(2)(a) of Companies Act. Friends, section 12 talks about the mandatory requirement for all the companies to go for inspection and certification and provide extract as and when it is sought for, because it is to be made available in the public domain. 12(2)(a) clearly carves out the government companies where these companies are notified in the Gazette as exempt private companies. So when we refer to the definition of EPC, exempt private company, also there are 2 provisions there. One is those companies where indirectly or directly there is no beneficial interest held by any corporation and the number of members is less than 20, point number 1. And point number 2, we also discussed about these common companies as prescribed in 12(2)(a) which are notified in the Gazette to seek exemption. So not in the public interest for these companies to produce these documents for inspection, and hence they shall not be provided for inspection or to take certificates or make extracts therefrom. Next is streamlining the financial reporting requirement for certain class of companies including foreign companies. Again in financial statements part 1 we discussed about the provision of section 201 where 201 clearly had drawn reference to the registrar assuming significant power to exempt a company from complying with any or all of the requirements in the accounting standard and require the company to comply with other accounting standards. Now, the proposed amendment thus emphasizes the registrar to grant such companies from complying with the requirements of accounting standard more in line with that section 201. So rationale for this amendment is to provide clarity on the scope of registrar's power with regard to exempting such company from the requirement of accounting standard to give a true and fair view of the financial statements. Then comes your 20112 provision with regard to minister's power, where for registrar it is a company to which from complying with the requirement of accounting standard applies. With regard to 20112, the minister assumes wider power to specify class or classes of companies. So there it is a company, here it is a class set of companies or class of companies to which the minister has been granted wide power from complying with the requirements of financial statement or consolidated financial statement or the requirements of accounting standard as the case may be. So this proposed amendment grants the minister power to exempt by an order published in the Gazette such class or description of companies from complying with the requirement of financial statement or CFS or accounting standard requirement. This is again like the clarity being provided for your registrar's power. Similar clarity is being provided for the minister's power in relation to exemption from any or all of the requirements of financial statement or CFS or accounting standards. Next is your streamlining of financial reporting requirement for foreign companies, where we have studied that the foreign companies shall comply with the obligation all as any other company which is established under Singapore Companies Act. So in order to relax this particular norm, they have proposed this amendment where they say that if the foreign company prepares financial statements which are substantially similar to the Singapore accounting standards, then in order to reduce the compliance cost for these companies where they operate in a jurisdiction, say in Malaysia, and the accounting standard there in the country of incorporation is by and large substantially similar to the accounting standard which operates from Singapore, then these companies will be relaxed from the requirement of preparing two set of financial statements, one for Singapore, one for Malaysia. There, this particular streamlining of financial reporting requirement will solve the problem of duplicate reporting for these companies by requiring those companies to lodge the financial statement as submitted in Malaysia to the Singapore ACRA government as well. Next comes the proposed amendment with regard to filing unaudited branch accounts. The previous one is your section 373(2). This provision is your 373 prevailing 373 subsection 7, where it clearly says that if you are operating a branch in Singapore, your assets and liabilities shall be audited for the operations in Singapore. Likewise, your profit and loss for that particular statement in Singapore shall be audited. But when there is insignificant operations, this particular working group has suggested changes stating that in lieu of audited, it will be unaudited branch accounts to be submitted, provided there is insignificant operation, that is the caveat. So these foreign companies with insignificant operations in Singapore will be allowed to submit unaudited branch accounts instead of their audited statement of assets and liabilities and P&L account in respect of their operations in Singapore as specified in your 373 subsection 7. Again, to reduce the compliance cost for these companies. Certain outdated requirements are being weeded out more to simplify the provisions and for the purpose of easing the compliance burden for all these companies. One such provision is section 174. Section 174 of Singapore Companies Act talks about statutory meeting to be held by all the public companies, not earlier than 1 month and not later than 3 months from the date of commencement of business. All these companies have to convene their statutory meeting. And a statutory report shall be circulated not later than 7 days before convening such meeting. So in line with the international arena where United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, all these countries have abolished this particular requirement, and hence Singapore working group has also recommended for removing this particular requirement, more for the justification being that there are other meetings which are being convened like general meetings where the company is going to discuss about the operations and performance of the company after it commences its business, and hence the public companies with share capital are relieved from the requirement from holding the statutory meeting and as a corollary submitting the statutory report. Next is registrar being granted the power to update the register on changes with regard to the appointment of directors and company secretaries. This is more to enhance the accuracy of information in the registers, as the current Companies Act does not provide for authority to the registrar to amend these registers being notified upon changes in appointment. Because in 173 and 173A, we have noticed the fact that the register upon appointment of director and company secretaries shall be lodged by the company with the registrar, and the company not only should notify the registrar but they should also update for any such changes in the directors and company secretaries as and when it occurs. So the registrar here, by virtue of this proposed amendment, has additional discretion not to amend the register on changes in appointment. If suppose I am submitting as a company one of the changes in the directors to the registrar, the registrar has supreme power not to amend the register while this proposed amendment if there is conflict in the database. For example, in Accra, this particular person is additional director, but this Monetary Authority of Singapore, while they have already registered this particular change, they have not entered this particular person as an additional director, or there is a conflict of interest in the disclosures between two regulators. Then the registrar has additional power to not amend this particular register on such change in appointment. Next proposed amendment is with regard to strike off or restoration of the company. This provides the company, when it is legally dissolved, on the date the registrar strikes off the name from the register or restores the company to the register as the case may be, the moment it is updated in your BizFile Plus system. What is this BizFile? BizFile is again the e-portal available in Singapore effective 2004 as a web system to upload your data and to retrieve the data for all the businesses which are registered in Singapore. The current provision is with regard to striking off of the company upon dissolution, this particular notification will be made and published in the Gazette, and effective the date of publication in the Gazette only, it will be construed as the company's name being struck off. Similarly, when the company is applying for restoration, registrar will peruse the documents and will grant approval, and then after it is updated, it will be noticed and notified in the official gazette, and upon notification in the official gazette only, this restoration will be given effect to, rather than waiting till this is published in the gazette. Immediately on updation on the portal, which is your BizFile Plus system, the proposed amendment is seeking for removing ambiguity on the company's legal status to avoid this time gap. So the moment it is updated in the portal, they are suggesting for giving effect to the strike off of the name of the company or restoration of the name of the company. Next is regard to your compulsory acquisition of shares. Friends, section 215 of Companies Act talks about the compulsory acquisition of shares when there is a takeover which happens and it is approved by 90% of the shareholders. Then to the dissenting shareholders, the offerer shall, not later than 2 months after this 90% approval is accorded by the majority shareholders, make this proposal for acquiring their shares. Here, one point is imperative to be noted. New shares which are acquired or issued after the date of the offer will not be reckoned for this purpose. More to avoid this movement in the shares, because you need to have a record date. You need to fix the record date for the purpose of determining the shareholders. If there is going to be new issue of shares after the date of offer, if you are going to add the shares, then there will be volatility and leading to confusion. To avoid this ambiguity, there is a cutoff fixed. And this proposed amendment clearly says that you shall allow the holders of convertible securities or options as well. Suppose a company has issued convertible preference shares, and those convertible preference shareholders have exercised their conversion rights prior to this particular notice of compulsory acquisition of shares to accord their approval or disapproval of the offer by having their share counted towards the 90%. This working group has recommended the proposal to include the convertible securities as well, primarily to provide respect to the rights of these convertible options or securities as well, so that their conversion rights will be recognized and given effect to. And the current provisions in section 215 prejudices the right of these holders as potential shareholders of the company. To overcome that particular limitation, these holders, the convertible securities and the option holder, should also be granted recognition while it leads to compulsory acquisition of shares. Friends, there is also another provision with regard to disqualification of directors. 173A(e) talks about disqualification of directors. The current provisions talks about the disqualification in the event of bankruptcy, or where the company is not filing. There is this continuous default in filing the documents, and that leads to disqualification. Then this particular director shall report to the company, and if he has an apprehension that the company will not be making further reporting or onward reporting to the registrar, he can directly make this reporting to the registrar. Now, the proposed amendment of 173AE clearly mentions that let the scope not be restricted only to this bankruptcy leading to disqualification, or not filing the documents with the registrar leading to disqualification. For any other disqualification, let this particular provision be enhanced. There is also another provision with regard to Rule 7 of Companies Registration Regulations, where it talks about the re-domiciliation to Singapore. There are certain thresholds prescribed under the relevant regulation. The extent provision talks about 3 criteria for a foreign company to get re-domiciled to Singapore. They should have necessary revenue or asset base to get transferred to this particular Singapore arena, where it clearly specifies the threshold as asset not less than 10 million Singapore dollars, or revenue not less than 10 million Singapore dollars, or employees should be not less than 50. In the current technologically advanced scenario, where workforce can sit in any place and work with the advanced technology, the working group felt that this additional stipulation of employees not less than 50 is an added obligation on the companies, and hence they wanted only the revenue or the asset threshold to be stipulated, and thus this particular criterion is suggested to be removed. Hence, the not less than 50 employees to be part of this particular re-domiciliation to Singapore is being suggested to be removed from the criterion prescribed. So these are the various proposed amendments in the Act, friends. So your comments and suggestions are invited, and this is the site in which you can post your suggestions and comments, acrod@gov.sg. And you can also reach out to consultation portal reach.gov.sg, and you can share your comments, which will be confidential. And ACRA has confirmed that they will publish the summary of comments without disclosing the identity of respondents. And the clock has already started, and we have time till 17th August to complete our submissions and suggestions, friends. So with this, we are concluding the proposed amendments to Singapore Companies Act, friends. Thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe.